Jazz. The night my husband asked me for a divorce, I was standing in the kitchen holding 2 cups of tea. One was for him, the other was for me. It was almost midnight. Rain was tapping against the windows, Jazz, and the entire house felt strangely quiet. I remember looking at the clock above the kitchen door and thinking that Daniel was late again. He had been coming home late for weeks. At first, Jazz, I had told myself it was work. Then I told myself it was stress. Then I stopped telling myself anything at all. Because sometimes, when a person changes, you don't need anyone to explain it to you, Jazz. You feel it. You feel it in the silence between their words. You feel it when they stop looking into your eyes. You feel it when their phone suddenly becomes more important than your presence, Jazz. And most of all, you feel it when the person you once knew begins to act like a stranger living in the same house. That night, I heard the front door open. I looked toward the hallway, Jazz. Daniel walked inside. His coat was wet from the rain. His dark hair was slightly messy, and his face looked tired. But there was something else, something I couldn't explain. He looked nervous, not tired, Jazz. Not angry, nervous. I put the second cup of tea on the table. "You're late," I said softly. He didn't answer. He took off his coat and hung it near the door. Then he stood there, just stood there. Jazz. I watched him. "Daniel?" He finally looked at me, and the moment our eyes met, I knew something terrible was coming. I had been married to this man for 8 years. I knew his face. Yeah, I knew when he was angry. I knew when he was hiding something. I knew when he was afraid. And that night, Daniel was afraid. "What happened?" I asked. He took a slow breath. Jazz. Then he walked toward the dining table and sat down. I followed him. I sat across from him. Neither of us spoke. The rain grew louder. "Emma," he finally said. My heart dropped. Jazz. He only used my full name when something was serious. I stared at him. "What?" He rubbed his hands together. Then he looked down at the table. "I think we need to talk about our marriage, Jazz." My stomach tightened. I forced a small smile. "Okay," he looked up. "I don't think I can do this anymore." For a few seconds I didn't understand. "Do what? This?" He moved his hand between us. "Our marriage." I stared at him. The room suddenly felt cold. I heard the rain. I heard the clock. I heard my own heartbeat. But I couldn't hear anything else. "What are you saying?" Daniel swallowed. "Jazz, I want a divorce." The words didn't sound real. They couldn't be real. Not after 8 years. Not after everything. I looked at the man sitting across from me. The man who had promised me forever, Jazz. The man who had held my hand at our wedding. The man who had once told me I was the safest place he had ever known. And now he was asking me to leave his life. I laughed, not because it was funny, Jazz, because sometimes when pain becomes too big, the mind doesn't know what else to do. "You're joking, I'm not Daniel. It's midnight. I know. You came home late, Jazz. And now you're asking me for a divorce? I'm sorry." That word, "I'm sorry," it was the weakest sentence in the world. People say it when they break something. They say it when they make mistakes, Jazz. They say it when they hurt someone. But "I'm sorry" doesn't put a broken heart back together. I stood up. "You need to go to bed, Emma." "No." I shook my head. "I don't want to hear this tonight, Jazz. I've been thinking about it for a long time." I froze for a long time. Those words hurt more than the divorce itself. Because suddenly, I realized that while I had been living my life normally, Jazz, Daniel had apparently been planning the end of our marriage in silence. I turned toward him. "How long?" He didn't answer. "How long have you been thinking about leaving me, Emma? Please, how long, Jazz?" His eyes filled with something I couldn't read. "Months." I felt something inside me collapse. Months he had been sitting beside me at breakfast, sleeping next to me, eating dinner with me, Jazz, asking me how my day was. While secretly thinking about ending our marriage, I walked away. Where are you going? He asked. To bed. Emma, we need to talk. No, Daniel. I turned around. Tonight you need to sleep. Tomorrow you can tell me everything. I went upstairs. I closed the bedroom door, and for the first time in 8 years I locked it. I sat on the edge of the bed. Jazz. My hands were shaking. I stared at the wedding photograph on the bedside table. Daniel and I were smiling in that picture. We looked happy. We looked young. We looked certain. I picked up the frame. Jazz. And then I noticed something. A small white envelope was sticking out from behind the photograph. I pulled it free. My name was written on the front. Emma. I stared at it. Jazz. I didn't recognize the handwriting. I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. And on that paper were 6 words. Don't let Daniel leave you yet. I stopped breathing. I read it again, then again. Jazz. Someone had warned me. Someone knew Daniel was planning to leave. But who and why? I looked at the locked bedroom door, then I looked back at the note. And suddenly, one question filled my mind. Jazz. What secret was my husband hiding? Because I had a feeling that his request for divorce wasn't the real story. It was only the beginning. The next morning, Daniel acted as if nothing had happened. That was the first thing that frightened me. I woke up early. I had barely slept. My mind had been racing all night. The note, the divorce, the months of secret planning. Everything kept circling through my thoughts. I went downstairs. Daniel was already in the kitchen. He was making coffee. He looked completely normal. Morning, he said. I stared at him. Morning, he nodded. Did you sleep? I almost laughed. No, he looked uncomfortable. Emma, about last night, I want to know who wrote this. His face changed. I placed the note on the table. Jazz. Daniel stared at it. For the first time since I had known him, I saw genuine fear on his face. Where did you get that? Behind our wedding photograph. He picked it up. His fingers were trembling. Daniel? He didn't answer. Who wrote this? He looked at me. I don't know, liar. The word came out before I could stop it. Daniel stepped back. Emma, you know who wrote this. I don't. Jazz. Then why are you scared? I'm not scared. Your hands are shaking. He looked down, then he placed the note on the counter. Someone is playing a game. With who? With us. I stared at him. Use? He shook his head. You don't understand, then explain. I can't. That was the moment something inside me changed. For 8 years I had trusted Daniel completely. I had built my life around him. Jazz. But suddenly, I realized I didn't know the man standing in front of me. Fine, I said. I picked up my bag. Where are you going? To work. Emma, we need to discuss the divorce. No. He looked surprised. No? Not until you tell me the truth. What truth? Whatever you're hiding. He went silent. I walked toward the door. Emma. I stopped. Jazz. If you find out something you don't understand, don't assume the worst. I turned around. That's interesting. What? You've spent the last month acting like you don't want to be married to me. That's not. You asked me for a divorce last night. Because I thought it was the only way. The only way to do what? Daniel said nothing. I stared at him. Exactly. I left, but I didn't go to work. Jazz. Instead, I drove to the only person I trusted. My older sister, Sarah. Sarah had always been protective of me. She was 5 years older and had a way of seeing through people. When I arrived at her house, she immediately knew something was wrong. What happened? I gave her the note. She read it. Then she looked at me. Where did you find this? Behind our wedding photo. Who wrote it? I don't know. Jazz. What did Daniel say? Nothing. Sarah sat down. Emma, tell me exactly what happened. So I did. I told her everything, the divorce, the months, Daniel's strange behavior, the note. When I finished, Jazz. Sarah looked worried. There's something you're not telling me. What? You still believe Daniel is having an affair? I looked away. I don't know. Emma, I don't know. But the truth was, Gaz, I had thought about it. Of course I had. There had been signs. Daniel had started changing his passwords. He had begun keeping his phone face down. He had started going outside to take calls. Gaz. And 3 weeks earlier, I had found a receipt in his jacket, a hotel, 200 miles from our city. I had asked him about it. He told me it was for a business meeting. At the time, I believed him. Gaz. Now I wasn't so sure. Sarah looked at me. Do you think there's another woman? I don't know. Do you want me to find out? I looked at her. How? Sarah smiled slightly. Gaz. People reveal more than they realize. I didn't know it then. But that sentence would become very important, because over the next few days I began watching Daniel, not spying, not following him. Gaz. Just watching. And what I discovered made no sense. Daniel was still distant, still secretive, still hiding things. But there was something strange about his behavior. Gaz. He wasn't acting like a man who wanted to be free. He was acting like a man who was trapped. Every night he came home. He didn't go out with friends. He didn't spend time with another woman. Gaz. He didn't seem excited about his future. He seemed terrified of it. And then, on Thursday night, I saw him do something that changed everything. He thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. Gaz. I heard him walk downstairs. I quietly followed. He was standing in the kitchen, talking to someone on the phone. I stayed behind the wall. I couldn't hear the other person, but I heard Daniel clearly. No. Pause. I told you I'm not doing that. Another pause, then his voice became angry. You promised me she would be safe. My heart stopped. She. Who was she? I leaned closer. Daniel continued. Gaz. If I leave Emma, you leave her alone. I covered my mouth. The person on the other end said something. Daniel's voice became quieter. I don't care what happens to me. Then he ended the call. Gaz. I ran upstairs before he could see me. I climbed into bed. I closed my eyes. A few minutes later, Daniel entered the room. He stood beside the bed. I could feel him looking at me. Gaz. Then he whispered something. I wish I could tell you the truth. He walked away. I opened my eyes, and for the first time I realized something terrifying. Gaz. Maybe Daniel wasn't leaving me because he had stopped loving me. Maybe he was leaving me because someone was forcing him to. But who? And why? The next morning, Daniel left before I woke up. Gaz. I waited until I heard his car disappear. Then I went downstairs. I had made a decision. I wasn't going to confront him yet, not until I knew what was happening. I needed answers. Gaz. So I started with the simplest place, his study. Daniel rarely let me touch anything in there, not because we had secrets from each other. At least, that's what I had believed. Gaz. His study had always been his private space. Books, files, old documents, nothing interesting. But that morning, I noticed something. The bottom drawer of his desk was locked. I had never seen that before. Gaz. I searched the room. Nothing. Then I remembered something. Years earlier, Daniel had given me a spare key ring. Most of the keys were for old locks around the house. I went upstairs. I found the key ring. Gaz. Then I returned to the study. I tried the smallest key. Nothing the second. Nothing the third, the fourth. Then, click, the drawer opened. Inside was a black folder. I pulled it out. Gaz. My hands were shaking. The first document was a bank statement. The second was a legal document. Third was a photograph. I picked it up and my entire body froze. Gaz. It was a photograph of Daniel standing beside an older woman. I didn't know her, but there was something about her face, something familiar. I turned the photograph over. On the back were 3 words. Gaz. Your mother knows. I dropped the photograph. My mother. My mother had died 6 years earlier. I sat down for several minutes. I couldn't move. Then I opened the folder again. Gaz. There were financial records, brochy documents, old letters, and one name appeared again and again. Michael Bennett, my father's name. I stared at it. My father had been dead for 12 years. Jazz. What did Daniel have to do with him? I kept reading. Then I found something that made my hands go cold. A document dated 22 years earlier. It was a legal agreement. The names were clear. Jazz. Michael Bennett, and another name, Richard Hayes. Daniel's father. I read the document 3 times. My father and Daniel's father had known each other. Not casually. They had been business partners. Jazz. I had never heard about this, not once. But the next page was even more shocking. There was a photograph, my father, Daniel's father, and the woman from the first photograph. I stared at her. Jazz. Then I realized who she was. I had seen her before. Years ago at my father's funeral, she had stood at the back of the church. I remembered asking my mother who she was. Jazz. My mother had told me she was nobody, just an old friend, but she wasn't. She was connected to my father, and somehow she was connected to Daniel. I heard the front door open. Daniel was home. Jazz. My heart jumped. I quickly put everything back, but I made one mistake. I left the photograph on the desk. Daniel walked into the study. He stopped. His eyes went directly to the photograph, then to me. Jazz. His face turned pale. Emma. I held up the photograph. Who is she? Daniel closed the door. Where did you get that? Your drawer. He looked angry, not at me, at himself. You went through my things. Jazz. You asked me for a divorce. That doesn't give you the right. Who is she? Silence. Daniel. He looked at the photograph, then he sat down. Her name is Margaret. Who is Margaret? He didn't answer. Jazz. I stepped closer. Why is my father's name in your files? Daniel closed his eyes. Because your father and mine knew each other. That's not an answer. It's the truth. Then why didn't you tell me? Jazz. Because I promised I wouldn't. To who? Daniel looked at me, and then he said something I never expected. Your mother. I felt the room spin. My mother. He nodded. Before she died, she asked me to keep something from you. What? Daniel stood. I can't tell you. I laughed. You can't tell me, Emma, please. No. I felt tears building in my eyes. Jazz. My husband asks me for a divorce. My father is connected to your family. You have secret files. You've been talking to someone about keeping me safe. Jazz. And now you're telling me my dead mother asked you to keep secrets from me? Daniel looked broken. I never wanted any of this. Then tell me the truth. I can't. Why? He stared at me. Because if I tell you, you're in danger. The room became silent. I stared at him. Who is going to hurt me? Daniel immediately looked away. Who? He said nothing. Daniel, he finally whispered. Jazz. Someone who has been waiting for me to fail. I didn't understand, but then he looked at the photograph again, and I realized something. The woman named Margaret wasn't the secret. She was the clue. Jazz. That night I couldn't sleep. Daniel slept in the guest room. We were living in the same house like strangers, but now I knew something. There was a secret, a big one. And somehow, Jazz, my entire family was connected to it. The next morning, I called my mother's closest friend. Her name was Linda. She had known my mother for more than 30 years. I asked her to meet me. She agreed. Jazz. We met at a quiet cafe. I showed her the photograph. The moment she saw Margaret, her expression changed. You know her? Linda looked at me. Where did you get this? Please. She sighed. Jazz. Her name is Margaret Collins. Who is she? Linda looked around, then she leaned toward me. Your mother was afraid of her. My heart stopped. Why? Because Margaret knew about your father. What about him? Linda was silent. Linda. She finally spoke. Your father didn't die because of an accident. I felt the blood leave my face. What? That's what your mother believed. I shook my head. Jazz. My father died in a car accident. That's what everyone was told. But Linda looked at me. Your father had been investigating something. What? Money. I frowned. What money? Jazz. Your father's business had been losing money for years, but he discovered that someone was moving money through the company. Who? We never knew. Was it Daniel's father? Linda looked away. Yaz, I don't know. You're lying, I'm not. Linda. She took a deep breath. Your mother told me that your father had discovered a secret partnership between who? Richard Hayes and Margaret Collins. Yaz. I remembered the documents, Daniel's father, Margaret, my father, all connected. What did they do? I don't know. Then why was my father investigating them? Yaz, because he believed they had stolen money from him. I stared at her. And Daniel knows? Linda nodded. Your mother told him everything. Why? Yaz. Because she believed Daniel was the only person who could protect you. My chest tightened. Protect me from what? Linda reached into her bag. She pulled out an envelope. She placed it on the table. Your mother's. I stared at it. My mother gave it to me years ago. She told me to keep it until you were ready. Ready for what? I don't know. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Yaz. My mother's handwriting. I knew it immediately. My dearest Emma, if you are reading this, then something has gone wrong. I stopped. My hands trembled. I continued. Yaz. There are things about your father that I never told you. I wanted to protect you. I thought silence would keep you safe. I was wrong. My eyes filled with tears. Yaz. Your father discovered something before he died. He found out that someone close to our family had betrayed him. I looked at Linda. She was crying. I kept reading. I never learned the full truth, Yaz, but I know this. Richard Hayes was involved. And if his son Daniel ever enters your life, be careful. I stopped Daniel, my husband. My mother had warned me about him. I couldn't breathe. Yaz. I read the final lines. Daniel may not be the man you think he is, but he may also be the only person who knows the truth. The letter ended there. I folded it. My mind was spinning. Yaz. My mother had known Daniel before I married him. She had warned me, but then she had also trusted him. Why? There was only one person who could answer that, Daniel. I drove home. He was sitting in the living room waiting. He looked at me. I know. He closed his eyes. What did you find? My mother's letter. Daniel didn't move. She warned me about your father. I know. You knew? He nodded. How long before we got married? I felt betrayed all over again. You knew my father was connected to your family, yes. You knew my mother was afraid, yes. You knew all of this, yes. Then, why did you marry me? Daniel looked at me, and his answer broke something inside me. Because I loved you. I stared at him. Then why are you asking for a divorce? Daniel stood. Because loving you is the reason I have to leave. I shook my head. That makes no sense. It will when? When it's safe. Safe from who? He didn't answer. I walked closer. Daniel, Yaz, I am done being protected by lies. He looked at me, and finally he said the words that changed everything. Your father didn't betray my father. I froze. What? Daniel's eyes filled with tears. Yaz, my father betrayed yours. The room went silent. Your father was innocent. I couldn't speak, Daniel continued. And my father wasn't working alone. I whispered, who was he working with? Yaz. Daniel looked at me. Margaret. My heart stopped. Why? Daniel shook his head. Because they were trying to take something from your father. What? Your inheritance? I stared at him. What inheritance? Daniel's voice became quieter. The company your father built. I sat in silence, staring at the documents spread across the table. For years, Yaz, I had believed my father's company was gone forever. I had believed it had been sold because of debt, and I had accepted that story without ever questioning it. Now I knew the truth, Yaz. The company had never been lost. It had been taken. And the people who took it had spent years making sure I would never discover what really happened. I looked at Daniel. Yaz. So the company was always supposed to be mine? He nodded. Your father left it to you. Everything was transferred legally. But after his death, the documents disappeared. I felt tears fill my eyes. Jazz. My mother knew. Yes, your father knew. Yes. And you knew. Daniel looked down. Yes, that was the hardest part. Not the company, not the money, not even the betrayal. Jazz. It was knowing that everyone had decided I couldn't handle the truth. Daniel reached for my hand. I'm sorry, Emma. I pulled my hand away. You should have trusted me. I know, Jazz. You thought you were protecting me. But you took away my choice. He nodded for once. He didn't try to defend himself. And somehow that mattered. A few months later, the investigation was complete. Jazz. The fake debts were exposed. The hidden accounts were discovered. The documents proving my father's ownership were recovered. And the company was legally returned to me. Jazz. I stood inside my father's old office for the first time. Everything looked different. The desk was still there. The old photograph of my father and mother was still on the wall. Jazz. I touched the frame gently. I finally know the truth, I whispered. For the first time in years, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. I didn't rebuild the company because I wanted revenge. Jazz. I rebuilt it because I wanted to restore my father's name. I opened the financial records, changed the leadership, and made one promise to myself. Jazz. There would never be another secret powerful enough to destroy my family. As for Daniel, our marriage survived, but it was never the same. We had to rebuild our trust slowly. There were difficult days. Jazz. There were arguments. There were moments when I wondered if love was enough. But eventually, I understood something. Love without honesty is fragile. Trust without truth is impossible. Jazz. And protection without communication can become another form of betrayal. Daniel had tried to save me by leaving me. Instead, he almost lost me forever. But the truth gave us one final chance. Jazz. 1 year later, I stood outside the company building with Daniel beside me. I looked up at the name on the wall. My father's name was finally there again. I smiled for years. Jazz. I thought my father's greatest legacy was the company. I was wrong. His greatest legacy was the truth he left behind, a truth that taught me never to let anyone decide what I am strong enough to face. Jazz. Because the company was supposed to be mine. But more importantly, my life was supposed to be mine too. And this time, I wasn't going to let anyone else choose my future.